Welcome back to the 2 Minute Warning. Today we're on the topic of the NBA, specifically Demarcus Cousins. Him and the Rockets have just recently parted ways, so I'm going to be looking at where I think he could land up and where I think would fit the best for him. Because the thing was with Demarcus Cousins right now is that he's kind of a guy who's lost his superstar potential, in my opinion. He did not play well on the Rockets at all, which was a little bit disappointing and not what I expected at all. I thought that him and John Wall would be a great combo, but he only averaged, I think, 6 points through his first 11 games, and I mean, his best game I think was like a 19-point game this year. He just has not produced to the level of the superstar that he once was with the Pelicans and with the Kings. So I think right now the role for Demarcus Cousins should be to just kind of play like what Dwight Howard's role was for the Lakers last year. Just come off the bench, give positive minutes, just bang down low, get a few points, boards, etc. Because he's capable of doing all those things, but he's just not capable of, being your number one go-to guy anymore. So I think a couple teams to look at where I think that are in desperate need of a big man and could use him. I think most people know about the Lakers. The Lakers and Boogie Cousins kind of have a mutual understanding that they could reunite because Boogie, had a fairly positive experience in LA. He kind of, he tore his ACL, so he couldn't play. But both sides kind of knew when he was bought out that there was a good chance that he could come back. So I think the Lakers, would be able to take him in, and they definitely need size. It's just they need a good guy off the bench because they have Marcus Gasol, they have Montrez, but they need a third guy off that bench who can come in and produce. And I think that him and LeBron would play well. A couple other teams that need big men. The Raptors definitely could use him. The Raptors are really good with Chris Boucher on the floor, but with Aaron Baines and Alex Len, they're just not good. Those guys have been negative net rating when they're on the floor. So I think that Boogie would be a great big because, Boucher is linky. He's not really like, a very forceful presence down low. He's more of a stretch kind of player. He's good, but he's just not like a big, you know what I mean? So I think that the Raptors would be a good spot for Boogie. Another team like the Knicks. The Knicks don't really have that much size besides Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson. I think that Randle and Boogie would be a good 1-2 punch. I think the Heat definitely need, a guy like Boogie. They have like zero size besides Bam Adebayo. I don't even know. Myers Leonard, I think, is out for the year. And other than that, they have Kelly Olynyk, who is not going to play in the post at all. He just wants to shoot threes. So Boogie would be a great fit for the Heat. And then a final team that I think would be really good for Boogie would be the Portland Trailblazers. I think that the Trailblazers are definitely in need of a big. They don't have Nurkic. They have Enes Kanter, but Enes Kanter is not really like that good of a center. He's kind of a liability defensively. He's only good on the offensive end of the floor. So I think that if they could have a big off the bench, I think that him and Lillard will be able to play well. Because right now Boogie, he's good for offensive purposes, but defensively he's very limited. He's not athletic. He's very injury prone. So I think that right now that his best option is to just go to an already solidified good team like the Heat. Even though they're not playing well right now, the Heat are a good team. They just need to come together, and I think a guy like Boogie could be really helpful for that. The Blazers, the Lakers, I don't know if Boogie would really want to go to a team like the Raptors. He might want to go to the Raptors, but I think a team like the Knicks would not really be a viable option for him because if I'm Boogie, I'm trying to win right now. You can kind of see that from his last two free agent destinations. You saw that with the Warriors and then with the Lakers. Another team that could probably use Boogie is the Warriors as well. The Warriors, they need some boost when Steph Curry's off the floor because right now they're helpless when he's off. So and they kind of need a bigger guy down low because James Wiseman just went down. So I think that Boogie could be really good on the Warriors. So at any team with playoff contention, I think that Boogie would be a really good fit for because I just don't see him wanting to go to a bum team like the Knicks. The Knicks are good, but like I was thinking more along the lines of like any kind of crappy team that may want him. I just don't see him going there. I think he wants to go to a team that has playoff hopes, playoff contention. So I think that those teams that I named are all pretty solid. The Knicks, we'll see how they shape out. I don't know if the Knicks will be. They probably might actually be in playoff contention with Julius Randle keeping up his all-star kind of play. But I don't know. I feel like the Knicks are kind of going to teeter out late in the season. I don't know if Julius Randle can, sustain this level of play, and I don't know if the weapons around him are good enough to get them over the hump. And if they do, I think they'll be a first-round exit So I think that any team that's in serious playoff contention, Boogie should want to go. He should be able to, at this point in his career, he should be able to embrace, like, look, I've digressed. I need to take a step back, play a smaller role, and then hopefully he can play into that role and then, get more minutes and be able to go back to being, a sort of resemblance of what he used to be, because right now he was one of the worst players in the NBA when he was on the floor with the Rockets, at least in the beginning of the season. He kind of picked it up during his last 15 games or so, but when he was on the floor early in the season, he was not good. He was shooting like 26% from the field or something. It was like abysmal. He was averaging like 6 a game. And I just know that I love Boogie. I think that Boogie was one of the best bigs in the game like 5-6 years ago. If not the best. I mean, he's so good. I mean, in so many ways. Now his shot selection is kind of iffy, but when he's hot, man, there's not really much you can do to stop him. He's got post moves, he's got jump shots, he's got back to the basket, he's got face ups, he's got all kinds of weapons in his arsenal. And it's just such a shame to see a guy like that get kind of ravaged by injuries, because I know he's got so much talent. He can pass, he can rebound. I mean, I already talked about how he's not really that good of a defender, but when you're that good on offense, it doesn't really matter. But he's had so much abilities over the years, and I just think that he needs to go to a team that is willing to take him in, and he needs to be able to adapt to a role and get his feet set, because he hasn't had his feet set the last 3 years. He got injured on the Warriors for most of the year, came back for a little while and was all right. He wasn't anything crazy. And then with the Lakers, he never played because he was injured. And with the Rockets, like I explained, he was pretty bad. So I think that Boogie just needs to come into a role and be able to kind of like feel his way into a system, and then he'll be able to produce. I think if around the right set of role players and the right system with the right coach, I think that Boogie can still be a very, very good asset for a team that's looking to contend. So I really think that he's got potential to still get this year back on track, and I think he'll be able to do it depending on the right team. All right, 2-minute warning.